Pathmonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmonk to your website in seconds, letting the AI do all the work and increase conversions while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Pathmonk Presents. Today, we are joined by Moez. He's the marketing and sales director at White Duck Outdoors. Moez, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you, Moez. So I just want to get started a little bit and give our listeners a bit of context, about background of White Duck Outdoors. If you can give us an idea of, what's your company all about, what's the big idea behind it, and how would you describe it to someone new?
Yeah, so White Duck Outdoors is basically a company for outdoor lifestyle gear. And our entire approach to our product design is with a focus on three main pillars, which is the product performance. Of course, that's a non-negotiable for us. The second big thing for us is sustainability and responsible manufacturing. And the third thing for us is functionality and the features of the products. So the entire goal for us is for the types of products we make to make them as easy as possible for our consumers to use. And that's sort of what we build all of our products in mind with. And our gear is made primarily for recreational campers, for hunt groups, for glampers, and then we have a long tail of use cases for our products like music festivals or events or backyard parties and things like that. So general gear for the outdoors.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to touch on you just touched on your ideal customer, let's say. So maybe to keep it on the marketing lingo, right? Your ICP, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is the best fit for your product? If you can go a little bit more in depth, understanding what their habits are, what they're looking for in a product, and how does it impact their shopping experience when they interact with your brand?
Yeah, I think the space that we see our customers operate in is people who are looking for reliable outdoor products because ours are not cheap, ours are not ultralight, and premium manufacturing and sustainability does come at a price. So it's sort of the consumer who's looking to invest in a product that's going to last them for many years. And it could also be someone who is very conscious about camping or spending time outdoors in all types of weather conditions, because our tents and products are made to perform in all sorts of seasons. And so it's our ICP is usually someone who's, let's say, 30 to 55, could be male or female, and is usually camping or going outdoors with some sort of a group size of, let's say, 2 people to 6 people.
Got it. Sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, but it's more for the slightly, I wouldn't say niche, but more the hardcore outdoor people that kind of, they go camping more. They care about the build quality, durability. Obviously, they want to buy gear, but they want it to last for years as opposed to a few months and then buy it again. Am I off or?
You're not off, but that is also a bit of an education piece that we try to address in our marketing. So I'm very glad you brought it up.
Okay.
Because sometimes when people see the kinds of products we have, they think it's for the very hardcore camper. But I suppose there's a difference between someone who's hardcore and someone who cares about their gear. So just as an example, to be quite frank, I had never really camped before I started working at White Duck 5 years ago. And now it's really all that I use to get outside. But I am no means a hardcore outdoors person. I'm just someone who enjoys comfort in the outdoors. So, so it is someone who cares about their gear, but it's not necessarily someone who is like hardcore, if you will.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I guess that's a good correction there, right? And I mean, hardcore might not be the best adjective to use there. It's more like about the quality as opposed to your camping habits or how often you go camping or you go outdoors.
Yes, exactly. And I think sometimes we do get the question, what is the difference between your products and perhaps a camping tent I'm getting from a major big box retailer. And the easiest way for me to address that is those are just two different markets. We're not competing in that. If you're someone who's probably, if you're someone who's comparing those two products, like a mass produced camping tent in a big box retailer versus ours, you're maybe not the best customer for us because that probably means you're extremely price sensitive. But as soon as someone starts to care about their gear and is looking to invest in something that's going to keep them protected in the outdoors and last for many years, then you start to fall more into our ICP profile.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now I'm curious, how do these people find out about you? And maybe, if we talk about the marketing channels that you're using at the moment, just that our audience can get an idea. Maybe that's something they need to try out more. Maybe they need to double down on something, but maybe there's something that, that's your go-to for bringing in new customers. Can you share any of that right now?
Yeah, so I think SEO plays a big part for us, is being visible where our consumers are looking for us. And of course, it's a pretty competitive space. And then that gets tied in with our paid and display ads as well across Google and social media. In general, content plays a huge role for us, especially visual content on places like YouTube, because for this industry, for outdoor gear, and for especially the kinds of products we have, discovery for this gear tends to happen on places like YouTube, where people are watching those longer form videos of people spending time outdoors or gear review videos. And and so I think between being in front of our customers through SEO. And by the way, SEO could also include some key platforms like Reddit, where there's a lot of conversations happening about these kinds of products. And also Reddit ranks very highly on places like YouTube. And so we try to be present in those spaces as well. But more and more, what we are trying to tailor our content for is surfacing in the right ways on platforms like ChatGPT as well, because more people are doing research like that. And the question is always, what sources are these AI tools pulling from? And so how can we best be present in those places to be shown in the right way on those platforms when people are searching?
That makes a lot of sense. And on that last note that you mentioned on ChatGPT or using AI to do search, there's an article I read the other day. I can't remember exactly the source right now. I'm going to link it. But it was saying that basically, let's say Google searches are dropping massively right now, and Gen AI is actually taking place in terms of, people are just asking AI to, give me the 5 best XYZ, best tents. And I care about quality, I care about durability, and, White Duck Outdoors might come in the results in that sense, right? So it makes a lot of sense. But also, obviously, it's for people that go to your website. In fact, I wanted to touch on that for a second. How much of a role do you say does your website play in pulling in new customers? And is there anything that you think really works right now, or anything that you got your eye on improving? Maybe if you can, touch on both and give us an idea of what's working and what's not.
Yeah, our website, I'd say, is a pretty critical component of customer acquisition and customer conversion. A big reason for that, of course, is that we are able to tell our own story on our website. So when we want to paint the picture about the kinds of activities you can do with our products, what goes into making our products, the sustainability, etc., that is best told through the imagery and the language on our website, which is why it's a very important acquisition and conversion channel for us. So what we see tends to work pretty well is having very strong visuals. And that could be studio photography, it could be lifestyle imagery showing the tents and our other gear being used in actual settings. And it could also be some version of different types of graphics, infographics, pictures, icons, and things like that that really portray how the products can be used, who they're for, etc. I think challenges we face generally are around people trying to envision how best they can use these products or how big they can be sometimes. For example, we have 2-person tents and we also have 8, maybe 10-person tents. And I think sometimes people just don't have an idea of really how big they can get or what they might look like. And so ideas we've toyed with but haven't really dabbled in yet are things like AR, right? Is can I scan a QR code and then envision it in my backyard or something like that? So just telling the true story of what the products are like sometimes is I'd say a challenge on our website.
Yeah, and I can see that being an issue because obviously, as you said, a two-person tent is so much smaller and so different than an 8 to 10 people, right? So how do you effectively show that on a PDP, on a product page um, and I guess there's a logistics side of things where people buy it and then realize it's too big and they had to send it back and like it's a headache, right? So you want to avoid that at all costs. But that
Exactly.
makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Um, from your experience, what actually makes a website convert? So you can talk about obviously White Dot Outdoors. You can talk about you can draw from past experience if you want, but to, to keep it contextual, are there any favorite tools that you can share, maybe tactics or frameworks even that have worked wonders for you when it comes to converting?
That's a never-ending challenge, isn't it? Is how to improve conversion rates. So that's something we're always focusing on. I think what we try to emphasize is obviously the conversion funnel for the customer. So when they first land on our homepage, to how do we get them to click to a collections page and then go to the PDP and then cart and then checkout. So we're always trying to optimize for that entire funnel. And then we do use some tools like Hotjar for A/B testing. We use triple whale for attribution to see where customers are coming from and what's causing them to convert, excuse me. And and then we're also always testing things on the PDP. So for example, we try to include imagery, videos, we have financing options, and then it's also showing that sort of more brand focused content versus product specific content, and then testing all those different elements on a PDP to see what causes people to convert more. We try different things through some Shopify apps as well in terms of creating urgency, things like timers, inventory, etc. We also try different incentives. We test things like adding accessories as a way to increase AOV. So it really is an ongoing process for us. I think really to bring it back, the core tools that we use right now for testing are things like Hotjar and Triple Whale to see conversions, and then designing for conversions while keeping sort of the aesthetics of the website in mind is really what the main focus for us is right now.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to turn into Amazon, right? You want the same performance potentially, but and I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying Amazon is bad by any, but it's not exactly what you consider aesthetically pleasing, right? And there's a lot of design minded people that work there, and I'm sure it's built like that for a reason, but at the same time, it's not on brand for you guys to go that route, right? So you still want to keep it somewhat pleasing, as I said, and good looking if you want.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating point, and it's very relevant to us as well because we do have a presence on Amazon. And I think the thing to take away from Amazon is that they do have arguably perhaps the largest data set of consumers coming and buying and checking out. So it is a very good place to take inspiration from because if Amazon is, let's say, changing the way they represent product information on their PDPs, that might be a signal for, hey, that they obviously know that that is working, and maybe that's something we should take inspiration from. But perhaps the way we present it is not going to be exactly the same as Amazon because theirs is very matter of fact, whereas on our website it needs to be a bit more brand and design focused. But I think if Amazon switches from bullet points to something else, or they add all their like A plus content, that is at least a signal to people who run their own websites is that is maybe something that works, and maybe we should take inspiration from that. Um, and that's always a question we have as well internally as well is, let's say, if just thinking of our PDPs, do we emphasize more design, aesthetics, brand story, or do we emphasize more infographics, pictures, videos that are really specifically speaking to, like, let's say, customer FAQs? And and that's always the balance that we're having from a performance marketing side and a brand side. But I think something that we've also realized is that optimizing for conversions is not an overnight thing, and it takes time.
Mhm.
And if you switch from, let's say, very information-driven content to more brand-focused content, that could improve conversions because now people are maybe associating with your brand in a different way. But it could also take time. And having that patience is an internal marketing conversation that's quite critical between, let's say, the brand team and the design team.
Okay, that's interesting. And when you talk about that focus, especially when it comes to, you know, justifying your choices, in marketing, especially, you want to make sure that you show the leadership team, that you show your CEO, your CFO, and whoever that may be, that, these choices are bringing in revenue, right? And when you say, patience, it's not always so well received. So you want to show at least some kind of incremental type of progress, some kind, but can totally relate to that. Now, I want to switch gears as we're getting into the back half of our time together here of the episode, and talk about you as a leader, Moez. Maybe if you don't mind, I would love to jump into our rapid fire segment question of the podcast, which is basically, just a quick and fun way to keep things engaging. The only thing we ask is that for a concise question, there will be a concise answer. Would you be ready for that?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So, when it comes to your day to day, what are the three main things that you focus on daily?
Working with the team internally or sort of managing the team. I have my own work that I need to get done as well. So doing all of my own tasks. And then I think any sort of project management or keeping things moving forward for the most part.
I like it. I like it. Keeping things moving. Okay. Now, when it comes to content, do you prefer watching, reading, or listening?
These days, listening.
Listening. Okay. So, what's the latest piece of content? It could be an audiobook, it could be a podcast, whatever there may be, that you picked up. And were there any gems or ideas that really stuck with you?
Yes. So, and should this be work related or for my
It
own
doesn't have
or?
to be. No, whatever comes to you first.
Okay, well, I suppose there's two pieces of content. The first one is I recently listened to an audiobook called The Racket by Connor Nealand, which is about tennis pros on tour and all the work that goes into it. So, I mean, many gems in there for all the work that goes into actually building something big. And specifically in a work context, we're also sort of doing a little sales book club where we are listening to a book called Fanatical Prospecting. And so that's all about filling up your pipeline to increase revenue. And so that's a pretty fundamental element of sales that we're just thinking more about as a team.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I've heard about that one before. I think many times over actually, and it should be a really good book. So thanks for the reminder. I think I'm gonna pick that up too. Now, if you had a magic wand and could fix one frustrating thing in your marketing life with tech, what would it be?
I think just bringing everyone and everything. This is such a vague answer, but just bringing everyone and everything together because that's a lot of what I focus on is the different teams and agencies and people working on this specific project. So somehow getting everyone aligned with a piece of tech and making sure we're all moving forward towards what we need to accomplish would, in my role, probably be ideal for me.
I think it would be ideal for everyone, to be honest. When you work in a group setting or with clients or whenever you have to communicate and collaborate, yeah, 100%. Now, Moez, if you could go back to your past self, right, and give him a quick a quick pep talk, let's say, at the beginning of your journey, what kind of advice would you drop?
Probably that I should be willing to learn and be patient with the process. I didn't study marketing specifically, and it's not the space that I was always in. So just always being open to learn and being patient and not getting frustrated when things don't necessarily work the first time, because I think that's just part of the marketing game is trying different things and seeing what works. And uh, I forget where I read this, but something that stuck with me is that marketing is sort of like a stock portfolio where you have to put your eggs in different baskets, and a couple of them may take off. And I think that's sort of what you have to be open to learning and trying is different things and being patient with the process.
And I was going to say exactly, we go back to the patience thing, right? You have to give it time and, be trust in the process, right? And just wait for it to produce results, right? But
Exactly.
sometimes that's the challenge itself.
Yeah.
Now, Moez, I want to thank you for being on the show with us today. I also want to give you the last word. So if someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is the one thing that they should definitely remember about the work you guys are doing?
At White Duck specifically, or marketing, or?
So for you as a leader, but also, if you want to touch on the company, that's also fine for sure.
I think the one thing that someone could take away is having the willingness to sort of merge and balance brand with performance marketing. I think both of them are equally important for us, especially for me, where a lot of my work has been focused on the brand side and working closely with our performance marketing teams. It's how do we bring those together to tell the story of our company without sacrificing one or the other. And I think both are sort of equally important. Both don't have the immediate signal of ROI, which is why it's not always apparent that both are important. But I think that's kind of one of the big takeaways for me, especially in my day to day, is focusing on both of those equally and finding the best way to make them come together in the different facets uh, of our marketing projects.
Okay, very good. Now, if someone wants to go and check you guys out, see your products, where could they go? If you want to plug here, that's absolutely fine.
I appreciate that. Yeah, our website is always a good place, whiteduckoutdoors.com. And then our Instagram is at whiteduck_outdoors. But I think earlier I mentioned that visual content is a huge thing for us. So we're pretty active on YouTube as well. But basically our website and all of our socials.
But can we expect some beautiful backdrops with your tents and accessories on them, or?
100%. And if that's something you're into, is like hot tent camping, and sometimes people get out with their products and they're camping in like freezing temperatures in the tents.
Wow.
If that's the kind of videos you like to watch, you'll find plenty of that as well.
Wow. Awesome. I'll check it out. Well, again, thank you for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful day, Moez, and all the best with product launches, campaigns, events, whatever the case may be. And we wish to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And the podcast is a great way to get marketing information out there. So I'm glad you guys are doing this and inviting folks on to share their valuable knowledge. I'm definitely going to be a subscriber and a listener from now. So thanks for having me. It was good to be
Amazing.
here.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks for
Thank you, Moez. Bye, everyone.